Welcome to Free Beer Friday, powered in part by Classic of Denton. All right, everybody, welcome to Free Beer Friday. We are doing something a little bit different. If you have not noticed, I am not your host. I am Jake Laughlin, operator, manager, general lackey of DentonRadio.com. And I am sitting next to your true host of Free Beer Friday, the one and only Ben Esely, who you see every week bringing all the awesome beer information
Tasty
and all
goodness.
that good stuff. The tasty
Yes.
goodness. Now, Free Beer Friday is a cool event because it is a show as well as an event. So every week we have craft brewers from really all over that you can enjoy right here in Denton. They come into the studio, do a quick interview, and then they're also passing out samples. So come by the Discover Denton Welcome Center, and you can meet all of those folks every Friday at 7. But today we thought we would do something a little special and let everybody get to know the host himself and who this crazy character is that's bringing you all this information. So if you are watching via video on Facebook, if you're tuned in on Denton Radio, we highly suggest that you go over to Facebook because any comments that you make are going to we're going to read those off for Sir Ben. Hey, Drew, we're going to read those off for Sir Ben himself, and he'll be able to answer your questions. Here is your mouse, Sir Producer, and if you will refresh that page so that we can see those comments coming in.
Ooh, we're going to get all the good stuff,
We're going to get all the good stuff.
Nice.
Anyways,
Be gentle, guys.
First
Be
thing
gentle.
I wanted to ask you is tell us the Ben Esely bearded monk origins. I mean, you've had okay. So
the
for those
issue
that- so-
zero.
yeah. So those
like
that-
origin story.
Yeah. Like let's do a true trip as if you're a Marvel character, and we're going to rewind to the beginning. What turmoil put you down this path? And
I like that.
for those that don't know, Ben is an owner in the Bearded Monk.
Yep, that's my shop.
And a very influential person in the beer community. And so what got you started?
I would say very. I just tend to drink with these guys. That's all that is, man.
So
Just get to drink with brewers all day long.
you didn't start at the Bearded Monk. You
That-
started long ago with a pretty cool story.
Oh yeah, back in the day, man.
So give us that whole origin.
Matt Westmoreland of the Boombox, instead of commenting here, is sending me naughty texts. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
I love you. The Boombox, greatest band ever. There you go. Every third Thursday at Harvest House. Yes, go see the Boombox. Okay, so my brother hates to admit it, but he came back from this stint in California with this crazy Belgian-style beer from Canada, from Unibrew in Canada. And I fell in love. Like, this stuff is amazing. It was champagne-like, fruity, effervescent. It wasn't the boring stuff you saw at Keggers in college. And, man, I need some more of this. And from there, every time I went to a store, I found something I didn't know and bought it and drank it. Some of it I hated, some of it I loved. And I just learned along the way. And then started finding the little stores like the Bearded Monk that were focused only on craft beer. And then I got to meet people that really knew what they were talking about instead of some guy at a store that was like, oh, yeah, beer's over there.
Right.
I got to meet people that had these stories, that knew about these guys, that knew about the style, and they started educating me. And then I guess about 7, 8 years ago, this was back when I lived on Boulevard, just north of the square in this old house. We were talking about what to do, what we could do for all the local guys that we had met and we'd been drinking with and trying their beers, and we wanted to give them a voice in the community. Because if you go to Target or Kroger or 7-Eleven, there's a big old flashy stand with Budweiser and Miller Lite and Coors Light, but the craft brewers don't get a focus. So we wanted to give them a focus somewhere. So we ended up starting Beer Drinkers Society, and it was a blog. We did beer reviews. We did festival reviews. Everything. Everything about beer, we wrote about it. My job was I interviewed these brewery owners and these lead brewers. Hence where we are now today. It's
right.
I've been talking to these guys as they either bring their beer into Texas from out of state, or if they're here for a pint night and a festival party, or as they open their breweries. I was getting to know them.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to hang out and tell their story. So this show is just an extension of that now,
cool.
right? We're just telling it in a different format.
Yeah.
And then pretty quick, I met a couple of the really influential people. I met Brian Brown with Beer and Big D. I met Matt Dixon, who coincidentally was at my shop today with his wife and his beautiful son, and they were having some beers. That's the guy behind North Texas Beer Week and Dallas Brew Scene and Dallas Brew Bus. And real early on, I met Paul Hightower, who is a very accomplished author. Actually, Paul and Brian have written a book as well on the history of beer in North Texas. So I started meeting all these amazing people that knew and still do know way more than I do. And Dixon was the one that called me up one day and said, hey, Dallas Morning News they want to focus on craft beer. You interested? Like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And from there, I met Teeny Ricciardi, who is this beautifully amazing writer for the Dallas Morning News and for Guide Live. And her and Sarah Blaskovich are just fantastic beer and entertainment writers. And it went from there, and we started blowing up the craft beer scene with articles on that as well. And I wish I could keep up with that. Yeah. But those two will pump out articles in days. They're just amazing writers that I could not keep up with it with a store. So sad to say that is slowly gone by the wayside.
Sure.
And I still write every once in a while. Like, I think I just did an article for Best Little Brewfest blog on the 8 summer beers you should be drinking right now. And Jenna Duncan with Denton Record Chronicle wants me to do one on the state of craft beer.
Oh, that'd be cool.
We're in, it's a crazy time.
Yeah, sure.
Budweiser's trying to kind of block everybody in and stop these craft brewers from doing what they do. So I want to tell that story. But yeah, so I still write a little bit, but that's how I got into this, man. And it was just, instead of typing and telling the story, can we start drinking the story? And here we are.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So, and not to get too far off of the track, but you say Budweiser is trying to box this in and do try and keep this craft thing from spreading. I
bet they very much see it like a viral spread. I'm sure that's how they view it.
Why do you think that is? I mean, there's still a market for those that like Bud, for those that like the big guys and all those kinds of things. Why is it that instead of coming out with more, I don't know if you would say artisanal beers or things like this, they're just trying to stop this sensation from happening rather than sort of embracing it?
Well, you want to do it
curious about that.
You want to do it from multiple sides. So they have been doing that. Okay. If you look at Blue Moon, Shock Top, those are great examples of the big guys producing a craft alternative. It goes in a spectrum, right? You've got folks that have been drinking Bud Light and they try a Blue Moon and they're like, man, that's great. I'm good. All the way to people that are flying to Belgium and France yearly to pick stuff up you can't find anywhere. Like the Mott brothers. I love you guys. And the folks that are further down that spectrum are where a lot of your money is. Well, they know that Shocked Up and Blue Moon aren't craft beer, and they goad Bud and Miller Coors for that. So they realized, well, we can't hide it. Yeah. We can't pretend we're craft. So why don't we buy craft? So that's what's been happening real aggressively for the past 5-6 years. So they bought Goose Island was a big, beautiful brewery in Chicago. And it still is. It's still a great brewery. And they still put out fantastic beers. if you go on some of these craft beer apps, Goose Island Stouts are still the top-rated beers in America. Sad to say, they're owned by Budweiser, essentially. So they've started doing that. It's, well, if we can't beat them, let's buy them.
Right.
Yeah. Let's join them. Yeah.
I like let's buy them better than let's join them.
But these are business people.
Sure.
So Anheuser-Busch didn't get to where it is by being easy to work with and accepting of limitations. They just started building their own limitations for other people or buying up other people. Right. And then InBev out of Europe didn't get to be where it was by accepting limitations and competition. So they did the same thing. So these guys are not here to work with other folks. They're here to take over the market. That's the simple side of it.
Right.
They're there for the money.
Yeah.
So they need to build that up as quickly as possible and maintain market share to maintain their revenues. So that's about it.
Interesting. Okay. So
I'm sorry, I really went off track, didn't I?
No. I brought you there. Well, and it's so my question is does the craft beer community see that as a healthy thing, that the craft community is getting this money pumped into it, or is it an unhealthy thing in that some of those things may stifle some of the creativity or the experimentation or being more radical because now you've got a shareholder to answer to rather than the musings of the mad scientist that makes the craft beer what
I
it
like
is.
that. The musings of the mad scientist. Yes, because it's very much, it's, part creativity and part science, and that generally tends to mash together as a Dr. Frankenstein.
Right.
The market is split. Every time Anheuser-Busch buys another craft brewery, there's this turmoil, this debate in the nerd community of, oh, man, they sold out. They're awful. They're hurting the other guys that are in the market with them. The people they used to collaborate with and work with. Now they're going to be used to cut those guys down and cut off their sales.
Sure.
And then there's another side of the market that says, dude, it's good beer.
Right.
That means they're producing that much less Budweiser. So let's enjoy this beer.
Sure.
And that's frankly what it's probably going to turn into, because now that Anheuser-Busch, Anheuser InBev owns Miller Coors now. So now it's 3,500 tiny craft brewers and Anheuser-Busch Miller Coors.
Huh.
Yeah, that is the world. And well, Heineken Group is a separate individual as well as Harp Group. So you've got some European guys that are really big that are also here. But what I suspect it's going to turn into is a handful of tiny guys in America and Anheuser-Busch Miller Coors with all of these thousands of sub-brands.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to turn into.
Well, I heard somebody say to me once several years back that the most popular with the internet and the ability to connect with as many things that can interest you, if you can get super beer nerdy or super car nerdy or super any nerdy about anything,
you can find your group.
Yeah, well, and the number one brand in anything right now is other. It's not the main one. It's okay. If you took, so you've got the beer that outsells everybody. Great, but if if they're selling 200 beers but there's 400 other people that sold one beer, that 400 was what won. Other is the winner in that thing.
There's all these little guys.
Yeah,
down here.
all these. Little, if you add that together, that minority is bigger than the majority now. But you've got that one beer was only one brewery, so it's still tough to do.
Yeah.
But it was just interesting the first time I heard that the number one brand in anything now is other, because now we're able to really, I mean, if we're a beer nerd, we can just truly be a beer nerd because the whole world is now open to us, and it's creating all these cool craft markets that I think is really, really interesting.
Oh yeah. Well, if you look at, I don't endorse shipping or receiving alcohol from out of state. That's completely legal. But if I did, I would recognize that a lot of social media has aided in trying beers from other places. So this audacity that's in Wyoming who can't sell beyond their region. You know, they can't supply enough beer to satisfy everybody there.
Right.
Well, all of a sudden, we're seeing a can or two down here. And so, yeah, very much I love the birth of social media when it comes to craft beer because it has given everyone more reach to try even newer things. Cool. And then you see influencers. You know, I've seen a lot of, right now, East Coast IPAs are generally more like orange juice. They're amazing. Absolutely amazing. And a lot of that's coming out of the East Coast.
Yeah.
And these are guys that, again, they can't supply the town they're in. They can't keep up with demand because everybody's just gobbling up as fast as they can.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, you see a 4-pack down here.
Yeah.
And then you start seeing breweries down here like, oh, that's really good. We should produce our own version of that. And you start seeing versions coming out here.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to see the sharing of information through that, or the community building through
Super
that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to personal notes.
Okay.
Since you're the subject today.
Hey man, I just love talking about beer.
Yeah. No.
If the show is not evidence enough.
Yeah.
Right.
So my question to you is, why craft beer on a personal level? What is it about craft beer, just in a romantic sense? What is it that draws you to it?
Well, the unromantic sense first. I just like how it tastes better.
Okay.
Like, come on. Well, you know, in college, you would go to a kegger and there's a keg of PBR and a keg of Bud Light.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I'll drink a couple of those. But I was the guy back at the bar mixing something.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted flavor from the beginning, and that's what craft beer leads to. There's just more flavor to it, and there's this wide variety.
Well, and I'm not texting. I want to make sure that we see all of these comments that people have coming in.
Oh, fun.
Matt Warmerlin said he loves you too.
I love you, Matt.
And let's see. Robin Ferguson said Ben is the best.
Oh, sweet Robin.
Will beer help me grow a beard?
Yes, it'll totally do it. It'll grow facial hair. Yeah, that'll totally do it.
That's awesome. Super cool.
That's the downfall of craft beer. Don't drink it if you don't want facial hair.
Awesome. Okay.
Y'all with me on that? Is that fair? It'll grow facial hair. Wait, watch. Here it goes. Yep.
Perfect. So somebody said to me a while back that there have always been wine connoisseurs. There's always been wine clubs and people that would do tasting groups and all these kind of things, but it was never mainstream because it was what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say pretentious. People felt like they couldn't, like the everyman didn't necessarily feel comfortable in that group. With
the bell curve of learning. Yeah.
But what they were saying, the craft beer scene is kind of that same sort of sensation, but the average Joe can feel way more comfortable in that group, and thus they can get way more beer nerdy and become part of that culture.
You can delve into it real fast.
Yeah.
And I know plenty of wine folks. Steve is one at Steve's Wine Bar. George and Brooke at Wine Square. These are perfect examples here in town.
Awesome wines at both of those places.
Chestnut Tree.
Yeah.
These are very accepting places. They will walk you through it. They will teach you about wine.
Yeah.
A lot, I think, what folks think of when they think of wine is the snooty French waiter,
right,
sommelier with his little spoon, and that you feel intimidated. You're worried you're going to say something wrong, or you're going to be made fun of, but the beer community, we're just a bunch of irreverent people. Yeah. You see how I did that?
Yeah.
I censored myself.
I like it.
Yes.
I like it.
Yeah, we're a bunch of folks who just want to drink beer and have a good time.
Yeah.
So it's a little more accepting.
Yeah.
I don't know what I want to drink. I like to drink this. Oh, cool. Well, here, try this.
Yeah.
There's something new.
I love
Done.
that.
But yeah, so I think that's made it a little more accepting.
So let's try and so here's something. I think a lot of people when I tell them we have a craft beer show on Denton Radio every Friday, they go, "Oh, the average muggle goes."
Did you just make a Harry Potter comparison?
I did.
My wife is gonna love you for that. Hope you caught that, Katie.
Yeah. So I feel like the average muggle replies, "I've tried craft beer. it's not for me because it's too hoppy. So I just will go with a Bud Light. In doing this show, I've Montucky I think is a perfect example, and there's so much variety that really anybody I think could find a beer that they really appreciate, and somebody that doesn't necessarily like beer could find a beer that they enjoy when they start diving into the craft beer realm. Me and Veronica over at the central office, she was talking about she didn't really care for beer much, and then she started getting
so
into
much
craft
good
beer.
stuff. Yeah.
So if there's a person listening to this and they go, okay, yeah, the craft beer thing, yeah, but I don't know if craft beer is really for me. What are 3 beers to dip their toe in the water you would suggest to that person?
Yeah. Well, so you're right. There is this massive, massive selection of beer, and I do love wine. I know nothing about it.
Oh,
Ben Webster,
as do I. Yeah,
yeah, he teaches me all about
wine.
wine. So the tough part about wine is you're limited. You're limited to your grapes and your yeast, basically, right? Your water supply. Beer has accepted all of these additions. I'm drinking, which arguably so, Dale's Pale Ale. Okay. This is kind of hoppy.
Yeah.
Most people aren't going to like this stuff.
Okay.
But you get into stuff like key lime pie.
Yeah.
It's sour lime, just like key lime pie, sweet vanilla, and then this like graham cracker flavor at the end. It's this crazy, crazy drink, and
cool.
Nobody would think of a beer being that.
Right.
And then I get folks all the time that are there. They come to our shop for wine because we've got it. But they go, I drink wine, but I'm going to try something different. What do you have? I like red wine. And they try something like Rodenbach's Grand Cru. Beautiful Belgian. Sorry, Ben. Belgian French? This is Ben Webster's world. Sorry, Ben Webster. It's this red cherry sour. And it's beautiful. It's sweet notes, a little bit of tart, dry cherry on the back end. That's a beer. And I love it when people say, I don't like beer, and I hand them something like that. And they go, what's this? Try it. And they take a sip and go, whoa. And I was like, that's beer. Are you serious? Yeah, that's beer. So you can look at things like some Belgian sours if you like reds. You can look at Hefeweizens. A lot of people already have an idea that they like Hefeweizens. Well, get beyond Blue Moon or Blood and Honey. Blood and Honey is a good beer. It was just bought by Miller Coors, so now it's just a Miller beer. Look at Celis White. Look at Avery's White Rascal, because Adam Avery does a beautiful Hefe. And then on the lighter side, even tonight, we've got a bunch of folks over there for Fab Friday that are, man, I love Miller. I love Bud. Cool. Here you go. There's a Montucky cold snack. Yeah. That's Chad and Jeremy created a beer that they wanted to hike and ski with and not get I'm trying to censor myself again. And not get inebriated.
Okay.
Yes. And it's a great light beer that keeps you semi-hydrated.
Yeah.
I think that was the plan anyway. So there are light craft beer alternatives that cost just as much.
Yeah.
But you're just not throwing your money away, or you're not. That's not fair. You're just not putting your money internationally. You're keeping it in the U.S. basically. Yeah.
I like it. Very cool. Interesting. Awesome. Okay. So, let's see. Your wife Katie heard the Harry Potter reference.
Yeah, she heard it.
That.
I love you, sweetheart.
The Dark Path Haunt said beer is for breakfast. Haha, JK.
No, that's fine.
Right?
There are breakfast beers for a reason.
I think there is a serious debate that needs to be had over beer mosas, because I'm a massive fan of beer mosas.
Right.
But I'm meeting so many people that are like, why would you do that? I'm like,
you're just drinking the wrong beer if you don't understand it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Beer mosa.
Well, you start looking at a lot of Belgian styles. These are guys that were right next door to the French.
Yeah.
So they're brewing with French champagne yeast. They're brewing with French grapes. So, yeah, these are beers that are very much champagne-like that you can do mimosas with. Excuse me. That's Tall Boy's making me burpy.
Yeah,
Sorry,
you're fine.
Guys.
You're fine. Katie said, what is a beer mosa?
Are you serious? Sweetheart, come on. Oh, my gosh. Okay, I think she's going to freak out. I'm going to have to make beer mimosas on Sunday. Yeah. All right, we'll find out on Sunday, sweetheart. I'm bringing good stuff home.
I'm probably a bad person to ask, because I've even done Never mind. We're gonna skip.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. You drinking tequila for brunch? Is that
I don't
what's
want to
going
mess
on?
up the surprise. But okay, so I want to talk a little bit more about the Bearded Monk itself.
Okay.
So if you could do 10-second elevator pitch, what is the Bearded Monk?
Oh man, Brian Levings gave me
yes, please,
with pint.
on the beer mosa, by the way.
What? Oh, Katie says yes, please. Okay, I love you. That's what we'll do. Pancakes for the boys, beer mosas for mommy and daddy. Brian Levings was the one that gave it to me. It's a craft beer only growler bar and bottle shop.
Cool.
So it's a bar. We can send you home with draft beer, and you can buy cans and bottles to go.
Mm-hmm.
So it's any way you want to drink, we will supply it to you.
Very cool.
Yeah.
See, and what I loved about it, I was there with it was the day before Mother's Day, and I was there with my fiance's family. We were doing kind of a pre-Mother's Day thing. This is the difference in our mothers.
Pre-Mother's Day gaming.
Because at Bearded Monk, we were with her mother, and we were doing a shotgun in the parking lot. and we were going to go see my mother the next day and have like a mimosa bar that she might sip on one.
Gotcha.
So we were there with you, and we're shotgunning Montucky's in the parking lot allegedly, and and then we said, hey, we've got to run to Kroger because we got to pick up some champagne before tomorrow morning. And you go, I've got champagne here. Like, why just get some for that? And so you supplied all. We were out on a whatever it was, a Friday night, a Saturday night, whatever it was. And, you were able to supply the great bar experience and all of those kinds of things. But then you were able to supply what we took home, and we were able to enjoy Bearded Monk the next day.
There you go. Right on.
That's what I love, is it's kind of that one-stop shop where whatever I'm drinking something. I was in there with Emily again. We were drinking Montucky's, loved it. Friend calls us and says, hey, we got a few friends coming over. Do you want to come on with us? And I said, hey, this is really good. And your bartender gave me a case of it. He didn't give me a case of it. He sold me a case of it. And,
all right, fair enough.
And so we were able to go experiment with what beers we liked, and then leave with a case of it.
Take some home.
Which is so cool.
Absolutely. That's the thing.
Yeah. So on top of all of that, you've got some amazing events that go on there. Everything from beer and beyond that's so community-oriented. Can you give us kind of a rundown of some of the stuff that people could find over at the Bearded Monk?
Well, I guess I've got to give a bit of a background. When we opened this shop, I guess even going further back to Beer Drinkers Society, the goal of that blog was to grow craft beer. Mm-hmm. It was to teach folks that may not know. Let's make this a little less scary. Mm-hmm. So that continued through to the shop. Mm-hmm. The shop's number one goal is grow craft beer. Let's have people in that don't know about it. Well, let's try it. Let's find something you might like, and then you can tell your friends and family, and it just keeps growing from there. Yeah. As people try a craft beer that they like, it just keeps the market keeps growing. The other side. I was kind of worried we were going into the dark ages of music in Denton. Like we lost a couple of venues. We did. We've got one really great gallery right here on the square from UNT. Mm-hmm. But other than and I guess in all fairness, you've got a lot of venues that they use their walls as gallery walls as well, and I love that. So the second goal for the shop was grow the arts in Denton. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our focus, aside from just bringing beers that we think are good or that we want people to try or that we want to support, meeting folks that make great beers that we want them to succeed, so we sell their beer. We want to do that for the arts community. Ideally, I'm really tired of hearing my musician friends having to go to Dallas for gigs. Right. Why can't you stay in this town? Mm-hmm. And that's no offense to Dallas. It's just you want to stay in your home, see your people you know, that and so forth.
Invest back into the community that invested into you.
Yeah, well, or even more investment from the community. Right. It's a channel too. So a lot of what we do, we try to focus on the arts and the creators in town, because we have all of these passionate, creative, super smart, super talented people in town that just need a place to be showcased. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we do about once every 6 weeks, we do a rotating gallery show.
Cool.
So in the front walls, everything at the front of the shop's for sale. So once every about a month and a half, the artist will come in. The new artist will come in, do a show. They'll talk to everybody in the store. They'll Michael Kokonakis did some acoustic guitar in his set. Wales Wardy did some dropped a couple of beats and did some freestyle rapping, and then did a Q&A. And so you get to meet these artists and learn a little bit about them, and hopefully buy some of their art. So these guys get some support from the community, that are just amazing. They just don't get a lot of attention, right? So that's a lot of our shows, or a lot of our events are focused on art, music, concerts. You know, we were never built to be a music venue, but with the loss of J&J's Basement and Rubber Glove, it's like, oh my gosh, where are we headed? If we're losing, you know, we still have dance, we still have rock and roll, we still have Harvest House, we still have some big music venues, LSA. But where do the little guys go? And I think Raheem's really stepped it up, and Midway Craft House. Well, dude, of course he has. He won Best Anti-Venue in Denton. You know, he has done so much support for that. And I think Andy's has really bumped up their game over there as well. So I want to help a lot of these local artists and give them a showcase point. And, well, tonight we've got 4 different bands playing. At
the one and only Fab Friday.
What?
Yeah. Give us a little info on Fab Friday.
So this is it's a fundraiser. Oh, I guess that's the other side. I want to be able to look back with the kids and have them say, look what Daddy did. Look what he did for the community. So a lot of what we do quietly are fundraisers. So I don't know if people give money shoved in their face, but, you know, they have a couple of drinks in you. Sorry, guys. You have a couple of drinks in you. You tend to give, and you tend to help the community a little bit more. So, like tonight, it's for Our Daily Bread. They do. Oh man, we'd have to talk to Suzanne about this. It's like they do lunch every day, breakfast a couple of days a week, dinner a couple of days a week, for the homeless population in town, which we know is growing. So we're doing a resource and a fundraiser for them. The guys is come drink beer and watch music. And donate resources, donate detergent, deodorant, socks, toothpaste, toothbrushes, that kind of stuff. But you get to have a great time and still do something more for the community that you wouldn't have done on a normal Friday night. That's a lot of our events.
Super cool.
I think, man, our next big one next Saturday, Barbecue Beats and Brews. This is we're almost hitting 2 years now, and about every 2 months we do one of these. I'm sorry, I'm just fidgety. Sorry guys.
It's exciting stuff,
right? About every 2 months we do one of these big parties where we have a bunch of bands play and a bunch of rare beers on, and the next one is going to be next Saturday, the 12th. And that's Barbecue Beats and Brews. You can find it on Facebook if you guys want to go looking. And that's going to be for Serve Denton.
Cool.
And you pay $10 to Serve Denton, the organization, and then you get to try all this barbecue from these wonderful pit masters they're entering the competition, but they're donating their time and the meat for Serve Denton, essentially. And then you can buy extra sides, you know, if you need beans and coleslaw and all that good stuff. And hi, how are you guys doing?
For those listening online, we are on the Glass studio, and so we get to interact.
Oh, look at that. Andy's getting you on the documentary, too. Fans. You guys got to wave. You got to wave at the camera.
There you go.
Come drink with me later.
Love it.
Or come inside and try beer right now. There's free beer right there. Talk to Whitney. There we go. Oh, that's way up. Sorry, guys.
Go.
I can't help
free
it.
Beer, it always
I feel like a tiger in a tiger cage. I got to talk to people.
Oh, I know.
Get in there. Come on, girl. But yeah, that's going to be a heck of a party next Saturday. Yeah. Crazy party.
Good.
Yeah. And we're doing that with our neighbors, Denton County Brewing Company. Both tonight and next Saturday, actually. Seth, Mike, Chris have been awesome.
Cool.
That's such a wonderful brewery. And that it leads back to the camaraderie and the community I love about craft beer. right?
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things I've personally in working in music, and I feel like I've seen the exact same thing happen in the craft beer scene. Is that you go to Austin, you go to no offense to these cities or anything like that. It just happens to be that culture. You go to Nashville, things like that. And when I start talking to musicians, the feedback that I always get from them is, yeah, it's kind of cutthroat. You know, you find out about a venue that pays, and you don't tell your friends because what if they take your gig, you know, or something like that. In Denton, I feel like musicians go, "Hey, man, this guy's paying. Go play for them. Yeah,
Let's go on. Let's
I
go
got a
rock this
gig on
out.
Friday. Go talk to him about Saturday. You know, hey, do you want to open for me? You know, all this kind. And so with the craft beer scene, I've never seen. There's never been this like competition. I'll see one craft brew guy that finds another craft brew guy that's struggling and says, "Hey, you know, maybe I can help you with canning, or I can help you with this, or I can help promote your come by my brewery and talk about your thing, and we'll, you know, this whole deal." And you know, even if it causes them to sell less beer, they're trying to help the other, because it's this community of people.
You want to help your
other.
neighbor.
Yeah.
At that. Yeah. Well, can you see why I chose to stay in Denton and live in Denton and love the craft beer scene?
Yep.
Because this whole town is like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very much like that.
Yeah.
Everybody works together. Well, and in the beer world, that's why we have craft beer downtown Denton.
Yeah.
You know, that's Sean at Midway, who is technically a competitor. Dude, I called Sean 3 times yesterday with, "Hey, man, do you have this beer?" "Yeah, I totally do." "Cool. Here comes somebody." And I get that all the time the other way. "Hey, do you have this?" "I totally do. Here they come." Same with Denton County Brewing. We send folks over there. They send folks over to me. Eastside, Harvest House, Oak Street, Mellow, Barley Board. It's great.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's what Denton is.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Love that. So speaking of Denton, you were nominated by the DAM Awards, the Denton Arts Music Awards, as Dentonite of the Year this past time around. Their inaugural
award
ceremony show, the whole shebang. You were nominated Dentonite of the Year, which was the big one. I mean, it was you, it was John Williams, there was Mindy, there was all these
Marcus,
really
Matt
Marcus,
Battaglia,
Matt Battaglia, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So, first of all, what was that like? And then second of all, I just want to hear a little bit about just from you on Denton.
Just on this awesome town?
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I love this town so much. My sister's been here forever, and I'm the baby of the family, so I was coming up when I was a kid to see my sister. And that's back when you could park in front of anywhere you wanted to go and walk in. Right? And now it's like you got to park 3 blocks away, or you got to park over at Wells Fargo. So I've been coming up here since I was a kid, and I loved it. And I was going to be an artist. So where else are you going to go in Texas?
Right.
Boom. Yeah. UNT. And met my wife, found my dog, had my kids, bought my house. And I love this town so much.
Love it.
But no, the Dentonite thing, that came out of nowhere. I was like, dude, what do? I sling beer. Why should I even be on the list with these people? Because that was an amazing lineup. And cool. Mindy won that, of course. Yeah. You talk about a sweet, wonderful woman. I love her so much.
Oh, she's great.
But no, that was a fantastic night, and it just surreal to be in that crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that crowd, drinking. Yeah, and George Ferry was slinging that night over at the Canvas Theater. And that poor guy, he was just trying to keep up with that crowd. And I love it. So Wine Square at George Ferry, fantastic guy. So we were going up to see him about once every 5 minutes to get another beer.
Right.
Like, oh, he can't even keep up with everybody. I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry. And then to see all these musicians and comedians and artists and community activists all in one place was really cool. Yeah, that was really cool.
Super awesome.
But yeah, don't know how I got added to that list though.
Oh, I do.
No idea.
You are a giver backer. You're somebody that gives back to the community every time you get the opportunity. I think anybody that knows you or has been around you at any point knows that.
Yeah, but it's still kind of selfish. You know, this is where I live, so I want it to be as like awesome as it can be. So everybody says it's altruistic, but no, that's just, man, I want my streets to be nice.
Yeah.
And I want my neighbors to be wonderful and happy and fulfilled. And yeah, that's totally selfish reasoning. That's all it is.
It's awesome.
That was a fun night, though, man. That was an absolutely fun night.
That was crazy. It was a good time. So the Bearded Monk is a place you can find craft beer, you can find comedy, you can find art, you can find music, you can find just about anything you could imagine there. The craft brew world, I think, is in this amazing uphill spot.
We got a wave.
We do.
What's going on?
And so let's see. Charles Burkett said, "Hey."
Oh, sweet Charles, the Denton Traveler.
Oh, that Charles. Okay.
That is an interesting.
I can't believe
That
I
is an
didn't know
interesting blog and a little podcast.
It is an interesting.
Yeah,
He's
talking about a
good guy too. Oh
and he's looking for the Denton culture.
Yeah.
Everywhere he goes, and I love that. He's a great guide across Texas.
Yeah, good dude. So we've talked Denton, we've talked beer, we've talked Bearded Monk, we've talked your origin story, all that good stuff.
Nice.
Is there anything else that you would like to include on any of this before we wrap up?
You know, it's never been said before, but I have animating bones. Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking origin story. That's my favorite comic book character. There it is.
And a bottle opener shoots out of your knuckle.
That would be sweet.
And you can just like
yes. No, man, I think we covered it. Golly, this is like the expose here. Yeah, I think we covered everything.
Love it.
Love beer. Love this town. Love my family. Love you.
Much love back at you, brother. Make sure you check it out. He is Ben Esely of the Bearded Monk. You can listen to him every Friday right here on Free Beer Friday. You can pop on over to the Bearded Monk and check out the amazing place that it is. The Monk is definitely on the Denton Travelers radar. Thank you, Charles.
Oh.
And make sure you stay involved in everything that these guys are doing, because they're doing a ton for the Denton community. Make sure you download the Free Beer Friday podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and iHeartRadio. And we will see all of you guys again next week. You won't see me, thank goodness. You'll see this guy and some other
I'll be back in front of the camera.
How
about that?
Brewers. All right, I think it is time to take us out. Sir Producer, if you will click that auto button in the top right. Oh, no, that's not the one. Here, hold on real quick.
So close.
Hold up. There we go. All right, everybody, we will see you next. Be sure to check out DentonRadio.com for new Denton artists and where they're playing next. While you're surfing the internet, make sure you check out our friends Classic of Denton at ClassicofDenton.com.